What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So it looks like Persona 4 Golden did release on the PC over the weekend, as we had talked about a rumor last week that seemed to be picking up more and more credibility as the week went on, that it would not only be announced but released. It did hit the top of the sales charts, and wow, look at that. Atlus might be able to make some money if Persona is a multi-platform game. Shocker, right? We'll go over that one. Also, we have to talk about another controversy that seems to have come out of the PlayStation 5 reveal. Not around the console's look this time, actually around a game that was revealed and some new information that was put out by Sony in a blog post, and Microsoft went ahead and did a trademark for a couple of words that could be once again pointing to more proof that Lockhart is on its way. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're gonna start today with a sale from Target. Yeah, it sounds strange, but I came across this on Twitter and Wario64 was tweeting nonstop about it, and I checked it out. And I actually bought some games from it because it is buy two, get the third free. So I picked out a couple of Switch games, 3 of them, and it went from 180 down to 120 because one of those $60 games was free, and it looks like you can mix and match all kinds of stuff. They have movies and games, and you can go through different systems. It looks like the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Switch are all taking part in this sale, and some of them are kind of newer, like the Outer Worlds on the Switch appears to be part of it, and there are quite a few games in there. It was just something I came across and checked out. It looks pretty good, and we'll talk about random sales here as they, of course, pop up, and this one just kind of caught me off guard because it's not bad. Like, they had some pretty good ones like Daemon X Machina, Dragon Quest 11S is on there, Snack World. These are just Switch games, but then you go over to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and there's a pretty long list as well. Worth checking out, at least to see if there's anything you want to fit into your backlog. Also, today we will have a new Star Wars game revealed. Now, it looks like this could be a trailer maybe that just tells us a little more about it, and then we get a bigger reveal, maybe with a release date later on this week at EA's event that I think is taking place on Thursday. I might live stream that. We'll see how the week shapes up, if any rumors or anything drops, and looks like maybe it's a better show than I was originally thinking. But to hear that there is a new Star Wars game that could be there that's fun. So here is the tweet that was put out. Now, this was also leaked by Microsoft on their Xbox store before this announcement went up. But you can see it says, pilots wanted, tune in for the reveal trailer of Star Wars Squadrons this Monday. That'd be today, June 15th, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So just a couple of hours after this video goes up, they should have some sort of reveal trailer up for Star Wars Squadrons. Now, what we've heard at this point, GamesBeat, Jeff Grubb did a write-up on this. Looks like it's going to be more multiplayer focused, and I guess it's going to be kind of like Rogue Squadron, but more multiplayer oriented. There will be like a single player, but it sounds like it'll be more or less something to teach you the ropes. It'll only be probably a couple hours long, and then you're gonna be pushed into the multiplayer side, but that could be really fun. If it's like kind of like a like a Star Wars like TIE Fighter or TIE Fighter X-Wing style game where you're flying around and shooting each other and maybe doing objective-based stuff as well, but maybe closer to kind of the Rogue Squadron universe. I'm interested, and we'll check out the trailer later on today. Oh, and you may have noticed, like I did when we were doing the live stream for the PlayStation 5 reveal event, that there was a point in time where we saw what appeared to be the PlayStation 5 startup screen, where you press the PlayStation logo button, and then, of course, the whole system starts up, and you get to your users to pick and all of that. It looks like we're going to be seeing a bit more of the UI kind of soon. That could even be its own video that gets put out, like a tour of the UI where you're going through the different menus. Well, check this out. This was spotted on LinkedIn, and this is Matt McLaurin, who started talking a bit about this user interface. Now, this is the UX design at PlayStation, VP of UX design, saying, hi, my team is the user interface, not the idea. You'll see our stuff soon. A little more pragmatic, but 100% overall overhaul of PS4 UI and some very different new concepts. Goes on to talk about how loading would be a lot faster, saying milliseconds at this point, and I'm not surprised because we're gonna be rolling around with an SSD rather than a pretty slow mechanical hard drive, but that is something that was frustrating at times with the PlayStation 4 system. Even the Xbox system is, it would take a bit to get around sometimes, right? Loading would just for some reason take a while, different points, and even sometimes starting up the system would take a bit longer than people were expecting, we'll say. But I'm excited to see this new UI and see what exactly they change up, because it sounds like they're pretty much changing everything. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with Demon's Souls. That was one of the big games that was revealed at the PlayStation 5 event. It was expected as Blue Point's game. At least it was the front runner with all of the fun things we thought it could be, you know, Metal Gear Solid, others. Demon's Souls was pretty much what we expected, realistically. It was there. It looked pretty good, I thought anyway, with the trailer they showed, but we did get a blog post that was put out detailing different parts of that event, and under the Demon's Souls description, something was there that kind of set people off online. This is what it said. In addition to beautiful shadow effects and ray tracing, players can choose between two graphics modes while playing, one focused on fidelity and one focused on frame rate. All right, so this set people off mostly because we look at the next generation systems as being these beefy powerhouse systems where we don't have to choose between fidelity and frame rate. To me, that makes sense. It's like, okay, we have these graphics options now because the current systems are limited with their CPUs being pretty weak overall and mechanical hard drives and all this stuff. And we're gonna go ahead and turn the settings down if we want our frame rate to be higher. Demon's Souls is certainly a game that would benefit greatly from a higher frame rate, or at least a more stable frame rate overall. It does sound like Blue Point turned on quite a few things. They mentioned ray tracing. They showed some very nice visuals overall, especially the environments, right? So it's not surprising to hear that maybe they were like, we pushed everything up to 11 with this, and we're getting 30 frames-ish, right? That's probably what they were thinking. Oh, we could turn off ray tracing. We could turn off some of these particle effects. Maybe we could even set it to a dynamic resolution. And oh, look, now they're just getting a stable 60. Not necessarily because the PlayStation 5 is weak, but because they are pushing it as hard as possible. And I mean, that's something we've heard even from Microsoft's side, is that the developers can do what they want. They have freedom to choose how they use that power. And we heard anyway about Assassin's Creed being 30 frames, probably because Ubisoft wants to turn everything up. It's not surprising to hear this. It's just, it is strange that people were kind of going crazy about this online. I mean, it is an extra option, so if you want to see all the really cool things on screen, and maybe you don't mind a locked 30, you go with the visual mode, but maybe you're someone who's like, I need 60 because I'm trying to time all this stuff out. It's much more fluid and more responsive. I don't need the ray tracing when I'm trying to dodge these different enemies and block at the right time. So I look at it as more options, but I get it because now we're seeing that the PlayStation 5 will probably have some limitations overall. But I mean, think about it. The PS5 has to fit into a small box, a thin box, right? And it has to fit into a certain price threshold. Sure, they could make an $800 to $900 box that'll just blast through everything, but they won't necessarily sell 100 million of an $800, $900 box. Next up, let's talk about the Xbox Series. Not necessarily the Xbox Series X, but what will probably follow the Series X as Lockhart, the system that will pretty much compete with Sony's all-digital PlayStation 5, at least to a degree. I do believe that the all-digital PlayStation 5 will be more powerful than Lockhart, but also more expensive, because it seems that Microsoft, from what we have been hearing, will be pushing for a cheaper overall model that will play the same games, just maybe at like 1080p, 1440p, somewhere in there with cut-down visuals. It is certainly going to target people who are looking for the experience without having to spend that premium price tag. And I mean, it's not a bad idea to kind of aim for both ends of the market, right? So naturally, we expect to see things like this, for example, pop up, especially around the time that Microsoft would be announcing something like an Xbox Series S. That still appears to be the front runner for, well, the name of this system, but this is a trademark filing that shows Xbox Series. That's it. Just Xbox Series. And naturally, that would be something they would get ready if they want to start tacking other letters onto the end of that title. Now, this was filed on the 9th, and then you can see the status date on the 12th as a new application from Microsoft. Now, this means to me that we probably will be seeing Lockhart at some point. I don't even think they need to wait till July. They could probably put it out in some sort of their own news blog post on Xbox.com. Here's Lockhart, and then they're off. they don't even have to talk about pricing necessarily, just that it will be another option at launch. And when they are ready to talk about pricing, they drop the big hammer of, oh, it's $300, and then, oh yeah, Series X, that's $500. But I mean, if you have options like that and you can decide, well, I don't necessarily care about all of the 4K visuals, the high end, all that. I just want to be able to play the games, and I don't even really care about collecting a physical collection because it's most likely not even gonna have a disk drive. Then I'm fine with spending some less money for that model. But seeing this trademark being filed tells me, honestly, it could be this week at this point. So we'll keep an eye on this and see what happens. Also, I really like this fan rendering that was on Reddit of the Xbox Series S. I really hope Microsoft releases it and it looks like a new age GameCube. That would be amazing, but then they got to put a handle on it. I don't know if they want to go that far. Next up, let's talk about Persona 4 Golden. It is now available on Steam. It has pretty low system requirements, so for the most part, if your PC turns on and you bought it in like the last 10 years, you'll probably be able to get it to work. Seriously, they're pretty low. It's coming from the Vita, so I'm not shocked, but it hit Steam at, I think, a pretty fair price of $20. I think when I bought it, Persona 4 Golden, again, recently on the Vita, of course, before all of this was going on, I think it cost more than that. I think it's like $25 or something, so this is pretty good. Now, I did pick it up. I did check it out on PC yesterday, and it does look like it was a Vita game. It's very smoothed out, and you can play around with your resolution settings and all of that. And of course, the frame rate's through the roof, right? Most PCs nowadays that have any type of video card are pretty much going to lock this thing to 60 frames without any real problems. But it is kind of odd looking, I will admit, to see a Vita game smoothed out and look like that. But it looks clean at least. And once it was released, hit the top of the Steam sales charts immediately, just like that. And I noticed when I was picking it up that there were over 20,000 other concurrent players already playing the game. That doesn't necessarily even count the amount of people that have bought it, just the people who were just playing at that time, right at once. So it did very, very well on Steam right away, which does kind of beg the question, is Atlas testing the waters right now to maybe move Persona around a bit outside of the PlayStation? I mean, really think about this for 1 second. If you're unsure about that, let me ask you this. Persona 4 Golden was on the Vita. Now it's on PC, on Steam, but it's not on the PlayStation 4. Why is that? That's the biggest question that no one seems to be able to answer right now. And hey, maybe they do announce it for the PlayStation 4 soon, but right now it's technically a Vita and a PC exclusive, which is very strange. Now, we have, of course, seen Sony get a bit more relaxed about games going to PC. Horizon Zero Dawn going to PC, Death Stranding going to PC, right? So while there could be a deal in place between Atlas and Sony, which is something that a lot of us have speculated on, maybe Sony is loosening the reins a bit on that deal, or maybe there's just no deal at all, and Atlas is just a strange company. I mean, that's very possible. They are just maybe a strange company, but there are, of course, button prompts for any controller that is on Steam now, which includes the Switch controller, so the Switch Pro controller. So it does look a little strange to see the Switch Pro controller button prompts in there because, of course, a lot of people are hoping that it could go to the Switch. And at this point, I'm not ruling anything out. It absolutely could. Persona 4 Golden could go all over the place. Who knows at this point? It could show up on the Xbox at this point. So we'll see what happens there, but I am curious if Atlas saw what just happened with the amount of sales that took place in 24 hours and realized that all of a sudden they could make a lot more money by just making Persona a multi-platform IP. Wow. What a revelation. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Paper Mario, the Origami King. At this point, it's like the one thing from Nintendo that's really coming right now. Nintendo's been pretty quiet recently, haven't they? There's supposed to be some sort of Mario collection coming this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they drop some news this week about something like that coming up, right? It was weird to have E3 week and there just be no Nintendo Direct at all. It was very strange, but Paper Mario the Origami King did get a new trailer, and it looks good. From what I've seen, of course, you have partners that seem to be back as they went through and detailed several of them. They even showed some fairly large-looking open-world areas where you're kind of exploring and finding a lot of things, collectibles, and then they showed us the battle system, and I have to say, I like it. It kind of has this puzzle mechanic of turning the circle that's around Mario and then also sliding characters around to line them up to hit as many as possible. And I kind of like that little extra twist to the traditional battle systems. From what I'm seeing so far, I'm in. I was already in though, but like now it at least looks like there's a lot of thought put into different elements of the game that maybe wasn't before with something like Color Splash. However, there is still one question, one concern. What's the progression like when it comes to gaining experience, skills, levels, any of that? And conveniently, they hit a lot of that when they were going through the battles. So, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing, but that's like the last little bit is how do we progress our characters, level them up, and build them? Hopefully, they let us know a little more about that before it launches on July 17th. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Brett saying Nintendo and Sony knock these events out of the park, and then there's Microsoft like the kid in the corner. So I do believe that Microsoft will show up in July and have a pretty good overall event. I'm hoping it's hard-hitting, it's fast, and we get through it pretty quick, like a State of Play, like Nintendo Direct, because if you looked at what Sony did with the PlayStation 5 reveal event, it was just trailer after trailer, gameplay after gameplay, and then they cut to someone for like 20 to 30 seconds, but then we were right back to the games. If Microsoft does that, I think it could be pretty good, especially with the wealth of studios that they have now and some of the rumored games, and Halo Infinite. If Halo Infinite launches this holiday and that's something they absolutely announce in July, like they've been touting constantly, and they have gameplay for it, it could be really big. I'm actually surprised. I kind of thought Sony would have a little bit more at their event because the word is there are things missing from it that Sony could be announcing as we go throughout the year. Maybe they saw what Microsoft was doing and they were like, well, let's hold some stuff back because Microsoft wants to have things every single month. We'll go ahead and drop our own information every single month going forward. So it's going to be a lot of fun heading into this holiday when both of these systems launch. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the controversy around Demon's Souls already having a graphics option or a frame rate option. Do you think that makes the PlayStation 5 look a little bit weaker? Or do you think it's just good to have that option? Maybe you want to lock 60 rather than 30 with better looking visuals. And then what do you think about Persona 4 Golden lighting up the Steam sales charts? I mean, should Atlas just at this point say, hey, you know what? Persona's just on everything. Persona 6, it's everywhere because we want to make a bunch of money. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.